You are listening to the AI World Podcast, your trusted source for the latest innovations, insights, and trends in artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and decentralized technologies. Each episode features expert interviews, engaging discussions, and in-depth analysis of how AI transforms industries worldwide. Stay ahead of the curve with the latest articles and exclusive reports from the AI World Journal, covering everything from emerging technologies to industry breakthroughs. For more news, global events, and access to AI World Society circle gatherings, visit us at aiworld.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed, stay connected, and be part of the AI revolution with AI World Lounge. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're jumping straight into what looks like one of the most consequential strategic moves the AI world has seen in quite a while. I'm talking about the landmark agreement between Advanced Micro Devices AMD and, well, industry giant, OpenAI. For a long time, the engine really powering this whole generative AI revolution, massive language models, complex research, it's largely been built on, well, a single hardware foundation. And that meant one company had a near monopoly on speed, on availability, and yeah, on pricing too. But our sources are confirming the rules of the road are finally, maybe, being rewritten. Okay, let's unpack this. The partnership that could finally loosen Nvidia's near monopoly grip and really redefine who builds the future of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and it's more than just, a large purchase order. That's what makes the story so compelling, I think. When you dig into the financial scale and, maybe more importantly, the underlying strategic needs driving this deal, you see a significant strategic shift. OpenAI is essentially placing this huge infrastructure bet. It signals that to maintain control over their future, what you might call compute sovereignty, they just can't rely on a single vendor anymore.
Okay, so let's start with the scale, because the numbers involved here, they're genuinely staggering. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar agreement dedicated solely to rapidly expanding advanced AI infrastructure. Our sources detail the raw capacity. OpenAI is planning to deploy a colossal 6 gigawatts worth of AMD graphics processing units, GPUs, over the next few years.
6 gigawatts. It's easy for that number to just wash over you, right? So let's try and round it. That is an astonishing volume of computing power, but it also represents a crushing burden on energy infrastructure. When a company starts planning deployments measured in gigawatts, the conversation shifts immediately. It's not just about chip speed anymore. It's heat dissipation, long-term operational costs, sustainability. This scale highlights an almost existential need for energy-efficient computing.
Right. And just for context, our sources note that this 6GW arrangement, while, monumental in itself, is roughly half the size of OpenAI's recent deal with Nvidia. But the very fact that AMD, who, let's be honest, has often been seen as playing catch-up in high-end AI, can't even approach this kind of scale. It just demonstrates the kind of frenzy these large AI companies are in right now to secure hardware. The supply just isn't there from one vendor alone.
Absolutely. And the market reaction, it totally reflected this urgency. This wasn't some quiet announcement. AMD shares surged, as much as 38% after the news broke. That's the chipmaker's largest single-day rally in almost a decade. Investors got it immediately. This isn't just a nice revenue bump. It's a huge validation of AMD's entire AI strategy.
And there's a strategic hook here, isn't there? It goes way beyond just selling chips, which is, the typical supplier-buyer thing.
That's the critical detail, yeah. We really need to underscore this for you. The deal reportedly includes a pathway for OpenAI to actually acquire a significant equity stake in AMD. Now, that transforms the relationship completely. AMD isn't just another supplier anymore. They become a key strategic partner. Their success, their future direction, it's all intrinsically linked to OpenAI's ecosystem now. So that's stock price spike. It reflects investor confidence that AMD is now undeniably a major player in AI, backed by the biggest name in the game.
So, okay, let's shift gears a bit from the financials to the strategic logic. Why is OpenAI making such a massive shift right now? You could frame it, I suppose, as being driven by both, like operational pragmatism and a longer-term vision. Operationally, Nvidia's GPUs have become notoriously expensive. And not just that, but increasingly difficult to actually get amid these global shortages. That's a serious day-to-day operational risk for a company trying to power global models used by potentially billions.
And that operational need is a really powerful driver, definitely. By partnering up with AMD, OpenAI gets immediate access to a second high-performance computing pipeline. It's fundamental risk mitigation, plain and simple. They reduce their dependencies, they hedge against those supply chain issues we mentioned, and they gain leverage against pricing volatility, basically ensuring they can keep training and deploying their models without being totally bottlenecked by just one hardware source.
But the deeper rivalry here, the part that I think will shape AI models for the next decade, it isn't just about getting enough silicon, is it? It's about the software. For years, Nvidia's dominance relied so heavily on its proprietary software ecosystem, CUDA. That software lock-in, that's what made their GPUs pretty much indispensable for training large-scale AI models. How significant is that software piece here? And is AMD finally cracking the CUDA wall?
Oh, the CUDA ecosystem has been the single biggest moat protecting NVIDIA, no question. Historically, if you were a researcher, an engineer in AI, all your code, your workflows were built around CUDA because that was simply the language of AI acceleration. Moving all that existing infrastructure, it's not easy, it's painful, it's expensive, it takes a lot of time. However, the AI landscape is evolving, and the sheer complexity is kind of forcing more openness. AMD's strategy, it centers on open standards, specifically through ROCm, the Radeon Open Compute Platform. This is the key technical differentiator, really. An open architecture offers AI companies flexibility. It means less vendor lock-in. Developers can, in theory, port code more easily. They can customize their hardware-software stack without needing permission, and ultimately integrate hardware from different vendors more seamlessly. It's a philosophical shift, right? Towards hardware optionality instead of being locked into one proprietary system.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're OpenAI and your big goal is building the most advanced intelligence possible, you really can't afford to wait on one company's roadmap or be completely bound by their ecosystem rules. It sounds like they're betting that the future of massive scale AI just requires this kind of foundational openness.
Precisely. And they're pairing that open software vision with some seriously powerful hardware. We should probably talk about the chips themselves. AMD's Instinct MI300X GPU series, these are specifically optimized for very large-scale AI and high-performance computing HPC. These aren't the cards you put in your gaming PC. They are enterprise workhorses, built for massive data centers. And early benchmarks are suggesting that these chips could actually rival NVIDIA's flagship H100 in terms of, raw throughput. Well, and this is crucial, offering that potential advantage we talked about earlier, better energy efficiency. Remember that 6 gigawatts number. When you're deploying at that scale, even a small improvement in efficiency saves potentially billions in operating costs over the long run.
Yeah, the company's leadership certainly sees this as a kind of moment of truth for them. We noted a quote from AMD CEO Lisa Su, and she was really emphasizing the company's commitment to, quote, open and adaptable AI computing. She clearly sees this deal as the ultimate validation of that vision and also pushing this necessary drive towards more compute diversity.
It is validation, yes, but it's also something of a warning shot across the bow, isn't it? They're signaling that the proprietary era of AI infrastructure, while incredibly powerful for a time, is maybe ultimately unsustainable at this new, frankly, mind-boggling scale.
Okay, so this brings us to the broader industry implications and maybe even the global economy. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because a single massive deal like this, it doesn't just change things for AMD and OpenAI. It sends ripples across the entire digital infrastructure landscape. For the last decade, maybe longer, the way we built AI was fundamentally dictated by NVIDIA's platform. Almost everything ran on CUDA. Now, AMD isn't just stepping in as a backup option or an alternative. They seem to be becoming a parallel standard. What does that mean for the other big foundational players in the tech world?
It means they absolutely have to react. They don't have much choice. Think about it. AI is becoming fundamental to digital services across every single sector. Finance, manufacturing, healthcare, national security, you name it. Governments and big enterprises are realizing they simply cannot risk having critical national or corporate infrastructure tied to a single source, especially one that's often supply constrained. So they are actively demanding hardware optionality, demanding decentralization. This OpenAI deal, it acts as this enormous proof point for AMD. It's basically the highest profile validation you could possibly get. And that will inevitably, I think, lead the major cloud providers, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, AWS, Google Cloud, to deepen their own engagement with AMD-based infrastructure. They just can't afford to let a competitor like OpenAI gain a significant strategic compute advantage, especially if that advantage is potentially tied to cheaper, more flexible, and maybe more energy-efficient hardware down the line.
That ripple effect is potentially huge, yeah. And when you look at the economics, the scramble for competitive access makes total sense. The sources we looked at estimate that global AI infrastructure investment, it could surpass $400 billion annually by 2030. I mean, that market size is just staggering. It simply cannot be served by only one chip maker, no matter how dominant they are today.
And that leads to the final, really fascinating macro trend that we see reflected in both the equity stake and this long-term partnership idea: vertical integration. By securing direct access to chip partnerships, essentially getting deeply involved in the hardware roadmap itself, OpenAI is trying to reduce its external dependencies and also crucially optimize performance across their entire stack, from the silicon all the way up to the software. They're building a customized machine optimized just for their needs.
That whole idea of customization and control, it sounds incredibly familiar, actually. Almost like we're seeing history repeat itself, but in a totally new domain.
We absolutely are. It really mirrors the early days of the internet, maybe 20 years ago or so. Back then, tech giants like Google and Amazon realized they couldn't just rely on third-party co-location data centers anymore. It wasn't scalable or efficient enough. So they started building their own customized physical infrastructure, their own massive data centers to control costs, ensure security, and optimize performance for their specific services. That move, that vertical integration into infrastructure, basically defined the scalability of the modern internet we use today.
And now, it seems like the same logic is applying, but the new frontier is AI compute. And the stakes feel exponentially higher, because optimizing performance isn't just about loading web pages faster. It directly relates to the intelligence, the capability, the very power of the AI model itself. So by vertically integrating with AMD, OpenAI is essentially guaranteeing its own supply of raw processing power, and, maybe even more importantly, getting the ability to influence the design of the chips they'll need for whatever future models they dream up.
Exactly. The ability to influence the roadmap is absolutely key here. If you're training these enormous multimodal models that cost, hundreds of millions of dollars for a single training run, you need every single possible ounce of efficiency and customization you can get. This kind of partnership potentially provides that level of control.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this massive shift really mean for you, the listener? Whether you're using AI daily, maybe building systems on it, or perhaps investing in the future of the tech.
Well, I think the core impact boils down to diversification. This AMD OpenAI partnership is a powerful statement of intent. It ensures diversity, control, and maybe more sustainability in OpenAI's massive infrastructure strategy. And for AMD, it's a huge validation of years of investment in their own software layer, ROCm, and a real chance for them to redefine their position in the whole tech hierarchy. The AI architecture is clearly becoming multi-source.
Yeah, it really signals the beginning of a genuine rivalry, doesn't it? Where Nvidia's long-held dominance is going to be vigorously tested by an incredibly strong, newly validated competitor. The boundaries of what AI can achieve, they're now going to be pushed by more than one major player, potentially using different, maybe more flexible, open approaches.
And our sources seem to conclude that the future of intelligence, both the artificial kind and the economic kind that flows from it, it likely won't be built by just one chipmaker leveraging a closed, proprietary system, but maybe by a coalition, leveraging more hardware optionality, more openness.
Which leaves us, and you, with a provocative thought to chew on. If AMD does successfully establish itself as a strong parallel standard to Nvidia, really leaning into that open architecture and energy efficiency, what does that compute diversity actually mean for the pace of innovation over the next 5 years? And maybe just as importantly, for the accessibility of that innovation. Will open standards truly accelerate breakthroughs beyond what a single proprietary ecosystem could manage alone? And how might that freedom impact the smaller players trying to enter the AI space? Something for you to consider as this AI infrastructure race really heats up.
The future of artificial intelligence is unfolding, and it's happening at AI World Week, the flagship global event for innovation, collaboration, and transformation. This flagship global AI event is designed to connect visionary leaders, trailblazing entrepreneurs, and influential thinkers to explore the endless possibilities of AI. Experience groundbreaking technology that redefines industries and inspires progress. Join thought-provoking discussions on ethical AI, digital equity, and the transformative role of technology in our world. Build meaningful connections that catalyze innovation and drive impact. AI World Week is powered by AI World Society, a global movement dedicated to advancing AI responsibly and ensuring it serves humanity. Together, we're shaping a smarter, more inclusive, and equitable future. Continue your journey beyond the event with the AI World Journal, offering expert insights, in-depth analysis, and the latest trends shaping the AI landscape, this is your opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to transform the world with AI. AI World Week. We invite you to join us and embrace the AI revolution.